I lied about something pretty significant to you that you found out about. That's what you're talking about, right? That's the fight?
That's not what I was talking about, actually.
Oh, shit. Oh, God.
Access denied. Access denied. Access denied.
Hey, y'all. It's your host, Jessica Jordan, and I'm here on Access Denied, the podcast dedicated to helping you get over your fear of rejection, one episode at a time. Let's go! Hey, y'all, and welcome back to another episode of Access Denied. Today, I am so freaking excited to be joined by my longest and bestest friend, Cassidy Murphy. Cass is such an incredible person. I've known her for well over 15 years. And today, we talk through those early years of friendship where we were teenagers and she was kind of placed into a caregiving role. Obviously, it worked out, but it's definitely an interesting conversation. On top of that, Cass is a very successful engineer, so we talk about what it's like to be a woman in STEM and what it's like to often be the only woman in the room. This is a can't miss episode, so let's dive in. Cass, welcome to Access Denied. How are you doing today?
I'm well. Thank you for the big welcome, and thank you for having me. I'm so excited for this.
Of course. Well, you and I had our own little podcast back in the day, so you were at the origin of my podcasting journey.
Yep, you got your first taste of podcasting with our good old One Direction podcast, which R.I.P. She was good while we had her.
The long distance fangirls, man. We made it work. We did it for a while, and unfortunately, I feel like the time change really got the better of us for that.
For sure. Yeah. I think there's a few, just life generally got in the way of that, but the time change for sure was probably most of it.
Definitely a combination. There was a lot going on. I was living in London at the time. You're in Milwaukee. So, huge distance there. Your life picked up. My life picked up. Lots of things.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we get to do this today. I've been wanting to have you on the pod since I first started it for several reasons. I feel like you and I have so much history and could talk about so many different topics, which I know you and I have discussed. But the one today that we're going to talk about, I just know other people will relate and resonate with, you know? So yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I have to say, I was listening to some of your other ones. I love the intro song. I'm so excited to just get the access denied. And then I'm very excited.
Oh, thank you. My friend JP would love to hear that. He's the one that produced it. So
it's very cool. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I feel very good about it. And he's great. He gets so many shout outs in this podcast too.
As he should.
As deserved. He should. Well earned, great friend, great person, great producer and musician and all the things. But you and I, speaking of friendship, you are my longest friend.
I was thinking about it because I was like, okay, how long have we been friends? And I guess from my side, I would say 2009 was when we started being friends.
Was that
That's
end
sixth
of sixth grade? Yeah. Because I feel like we met properly in sixth grade.
Yes.
But friendship takes a while to develop, and I feel like we finally let our weirdness show in the middle of that year. You know what I mean?
And so I'm like, okay, 2009, we're coming up on 20 years of that. I mean, obviously we got it's 16, but still, it's wild to me.
Other than the relationships with my family, that's the longest relationship I've ever had. So, love you.
Same.
Tweenie. No, very, very grateful for your friendship. I love that through college, through living in different countries, through everything that each of us have gone through, we have stayed close to each other. We might not always talk, even at the beginning of this before I hit record, we were like, God, it's been a while. But we're still very close, and I still consider you my twinnie. So.
Oh, for sure. And I think that's, especially as you get into adult life, that's kind of just the way it goes to an extent. Everybody leads their own lives, and you are doing different things at different times, and that's okay. As long as you guys can pick back up and it's no time has passed, who cares?
I agree. As long as you're there to support each other when you need it, and then obviously we make time. Like you've traveled to see me. I've traveled to see you.
Yeah.
Like we always make it happen.
Yeah.
You even came to visit me in London, which was huge. I loved you for that. Especially like that warmed my heart because so few people did, and like
Yeah.
that meant a lot to me.
No, that was one thing that, I mean, obviously at the time we would never have known how it all would have folded out, but I mean, in my head it was like, you're gonna be there forever, so I might as well go visit now and get used to it, because obviously I'd never done a trip like that by myself. So for me, it was like, okay, let's kind of get in the groove in it because I'm probably gonna have to do this a few times. So let's get it one under our belt, and yeah. And so I mean, obviously, seeing you was the whole reason for going, but I mean, it's also a fun trip, and it was a great experience for me personally. So
I mean, we did something that I know you've always wanted to do. We went to Ireland together.
yeah, I
on
got
that
to
trip.
check off a bucket list item that young, and that's incredible. And not many people get to say that. So thank you for giving me that opportunity.
Thank you for giving me that opportunity, also for witnessing the absolute chaos that I was living in at the time too. But
Yeah, we'll just sip the tea for that.
we're gonna sip the tea for
That's a
that.
whole other episode.
But all of that to say, we've gotten a good like 5 minutes into this, but I would love it if you could give yourself like a little introduction for the listeners here, kind of set the tone for who you are, what you do, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so my name is Cassidy. As said, I am Jess's twinnie. We've known each other since 2009, but personally, in my everyday life, I'm an engineer. I live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I love it here. So if you hear the Wisconsin accent pop out a little bit, that's why. And yeah, we grew up together, and now we're reconnecting now that you're close again.
It's so nice being close again. It's so nice. Like Milwaukee to Chicago is nothing.
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 It's not an 8-hour plane ride. It's beautiful.
It's so, oh gosh, I took the train the last time to see you, like a dream. I love a train. People don't maybe know this about me. I love a train. Trains are
You
great.
do. You do. And it very much reminded me of when we were in college and you lived in South Bend and I lived up here in Milwaukee, and we would still make time to come see each other. It was always by train. And I don't know, it's fun to reflect on that time. And
Oh, the nostalgia. We love to see it.
yes, the train nostalgia.
Speaking of nostalgia, though, one story that I think is really key for us is our like connection of how we met. So like we grew up in a really small town, Pontiac, Illinois. It's like 10,000 people. Our high school had 100 people in our graduating class, something like that.
Yeah.
We would always know of each other, right? Like
Mhm.
in the sense, as we would grow up, like we were destined to meet, destined to do all of that. But the thing that actually brought us together in the beginning was your mom.
Oh,
Which
my
is
mom.
really cool.
Yeah, my mom was a school nurse at the time for both my elementary school and your elementary school. So she had worked with you a lot growing up, and I think she was kind of the matchmaker. She saw the potential, and I obviously was of the personality of a very like caregiver type person. Even back then, that was always something that I really enjoyed, I guess. Like caring for dolls or whatever it was. So for me, it kind of like fell in step for something like that to happen. So she was your nurse, and going into 6th grade, we were moving schools. We were going to middle school. We were going to see more people, expand friend groups, and the biggest thing was traveling classes. We weren't going to be sitting in one classroom all day anymore. So at the time, you were still wearing your prosthetic leg, I believe. So you had spent a lot of 6th grade using a wheelchair to get around. And I believe you didn't have a electric one at that time. We borrowed the school's, I thought.
I think you're right. I think
Because it had legs on it that I like to play with.
you would like wheel around the bathroom, like
Yes. So
Yes.
kind of like jump before we jump ahead. being that we had to travel to classrooms and stuff, my mom was like, hey, I think you would really get along with this girl. Like, do you want to help her get around to classes? And then in the time you can get a new friend, you know? And I was like, sure, that sounds great. Because it's a scary time at that time. You're going to a new school. Your previous friend group may not be your new friend group, you know? Life changes a lot in that when you're that young. So I was like, this is great. I'm going to have a built-in friend. And so, yeah, we spent 6th grade in every class together with our lockers next to each other and taking you to the bathroom and everything in between.
We were really tied at the hip, like for all of 6th grade in particular.
We definitely were. And I think that's a good thing for sure. But it also, I don't know, we were very attached, and I think that led to us being very attached all through high school, I'd say even.
It set up a very interesting foundation for friendship, I think.
Yes.
And I would love to, like, I don't know if we've actually ever talked about it, so why not do it publicly, obviously, about, like, how that, like, impacted our friendship, I think, as well. Because my first thought, so from what I remember, originally I was planning to wear my prosthetic in middle school. That was kind of the plan. I think after truly like day 2, I was like, I cannot walk this much. My leg is on fire.
Yeah.
And that's when the school was like, okay, borrow this wheelchair, because I didn't have an electric one at the time. I didn't get that till 7th grade, I think.
I think so.
And so that's ultimately, like, it was kind of like a last minute like effort to try to be able to get me to classes in the beginning of the year. And it was so amazing that you stepped up to like help me get around. I think we had every class together that semester.
We did. They purposely put us in all the same classes together.
I don't remember if they rearranged our schedules or if that was one of the reasons why it like worked out so perfectly, because we already had the same schedule. But whatever it was, like, it was perfect. Because we were in band and choir together too. Like, it just, all of the extracurriculars, everything was intertwined. I think for me, and the reason I think that it took me until middle of the year to like, and that's why I kind of said that at the beginning, to be like, oh, you're my friend, is because I was so like nervous. I was like, well, she can't be my friend. She's like my caregiver. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that felt weird to me. I was like, why are they making my peer do this? Like, shouldn't this be somebody else's job, or shouldn't we like figure out a solution that gives me more independence? And I think I pushed back against that a little bit. And that's not to say that I didn't like value you as a person and think that
I know
we
what
were
you mean.
Close. But
you
I think
need
I felt
independence.
weird.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you feeling forced to be my friend? I think that's what I also felt too. I felt guilty.
Yeah. I think from my side, in the beginning, like I said, I was like, this is great. Like, I'm going to have a friend. Like, I had no thought, which is, I don't know, looking back, I'm like, maybe that's just how, I don't know how old we were at that time, but that's just how 12, 13-year-olds are. They just don't put much thought into it. And they're just like, this is great. It's a friend. And that's how I felt. And I think reflecting back on it, it's like you had said, we were band and choir together. We would have not only crossed paths, but I think we would have been friends regardless of however the snowball flew. Our paths would have crossed and we would have been friends regardless. I feel like this was just the big step, and honestly, I feel like it almost got the like awkwardness out of the way. It was like it got, the very beginning was the weird and the what is this, like whatever, and then like that shift happened where it's like, okay, we're just like sisters now, like this is what it is. And then it was like that from then on. So in my eyes, it's like we just got it all done early and we're like, okay, this is just, and so because like I said, we did everything together regardless if we were going to be friend, like if I was going to be your quote unquote caregiver, whatever it was, we still would have saw each other all the time. It's just whether or not we would have been friends. I feel like we would have gotten there eventually. I look back on it with a gratefulness, I guess I should say.
You know, in hindsight, I do too. Like, I don't know if the way I said it before came across that way. I think at the time, like living it as a 12-year-old or whatever, I was like, I'm so uncomfortable because this girl is listening to me in the toilet. Like, every day. But like, I don't like what you said. It did fast forward our friendship and like we got so close. Like, I've never had a friendship like it. And I don't think I ever will. And also, I think another thing that made it awkward for me in particular was I didn't grow up with siblings. And so suddenly I'm relying on this person who's my age, who's in my class to help me do things. Whereas I'd always turn to my grandma or my parents or the school nurse to kind of be there. And suddenly I'm like, oh, I have to rely on somebody my age. That feels weird. That feels wrong because that was not my experience. I'd never been able to turn to somebody who I looked at as a peer.
Yeah. And I think for me, it was kind of the opposite. It was like I have brothers, and it was like eventually it flourished into like, oh my God, she's the sister I always wanted, you know? Like, obviously love my brothers and everything, but every girl wants to have a sister at some point. And so it's like, I got that. And I feel like because of that sibling energy that I had, that I was able to pick up on the fact that you're like, we're in the toilet together, you're uncomfortable, you're just trying to go. And then there I am sitting in your chair, running into the wall, sticking the legs up, like trying to make it a little less awkward, trying to make you feel better about it, being like, hey, I truly don't care. I'm happy because I'm rolling around. Like, I'm great, you know?
God, we had so much fun.
We did. And that's why I think you can look back and there's probably, I don't know the right way to say it. There's not questionable things about it, but it was like, people may say it was a forced friendship, but I don't see it that way at all. I see that it, like I said, it was a fast forward to a friendship that was already going to happen.
I love that perspective. I think that is completely true because we played the same instrument in band.
Exactly.
We were in the same vocal part in choir. Like,
we were destined to be near each other, whether or not any of this had happened anyways. It was going to happen. It just was kind of pushed a little quicker. And I am not upset about that at all.
I am very grateful for it. As you said, I feel like a lot of gratitude towards our friendship because I do think it set up a strong foundation for us to get to where we are today.
For sure.
In many ways. Because I had other friendships, as did you, throughout high school that were really close. Yeah. And the way that I don't speak to any of those people anymore.
Yeah, well, I feel like part of it is just like the history that we have. Like, obviously, I had friends, and I still am friends with people that I've known since elementary school. But that's how a small town goes. Of just like, we're always going to know what's going on in other people's lives. But to have somebody who has seen you at your worst when you were younger, who has seen you at your worst through college, all of that, and is still there and doesn't care, is still just there for you as you should be. You have to cherish a friendship like that, you know?
I mean, God, we've been through every era together since we were 12.
Right.
And that's huge. And a lot happens. Like, we've been through puberty. We've been through our One Direction era. We've been through heartbreak and divorce and college, and mental health problems. And we are still here for each other. And that's special.
And I think a big part of it is knowing that there's no judgment. Like, I can go with the most outlandish, stupid problem that doesn't matter to anybody except me, and you'll still listen. And that's great. You have to have that in life. You do have to have that in life. And I feel not everybody gets that sort of relationship. And I think I'm so grateful to have you because you have been such a light. Like, you were, I think, my fourth call when I found out I was getting divorced, which fourth sounds crazy, but the lineup was there's
my
parents.
mom.
Yeah, there's a lot. That's a huge, I don't want to say honor because that's not That's not an honorable, I don't know. But I feel grateful to have been that high on the list of like, hey, I need somebody to talk to. And someone who knows my history, who knows how I'm feeling right now, knows that whatever it is, like, for you, you don't like to cry in front of people. So me hearing you cry is like, oh, I don't know if I can curse, but like,
Go ahead.
oh shit, like something big is going on, you know? Like, this
That's
is
true.
obviously divorce is huge, but you know, anytime something like that comes up, we're able to read each other in that way.
I think that's something like we haven't said yet. You and I are very different people.
Yes, we are. We're
We are
vastly
so
different
different.
people. I feel like, and I say this to some of my friends up here a lot, is that you are kind of the extroverted friend that took me under the wing, kept me there and showed me around and like introduced me to all the things that I wouldn't have done otherwise.
And I feel like you have shown me so much about like empathy and being understanding and emotional. I might not cry a lot, though honestly that's debatable these days. I feel like I cry all the freaking time anymore. But before like the last 3 months, I would hardly cry. I would hardly like be that like sensitive like myself. But I think you've shown me how to care for people, how to be understanding, how to be empathetic. And that's your Scorpio emotional energy, and I love that for you.
Yeah, I've always thought of it as like I feel a lot. I don't know a better way to put it, but I have a lot of feelings and they're very strong. All like whatever the feeling or emotion is, I have big feelings. And I express them in a lot of ways. And one being crying a lot. But I've since like I've come to terms with it. And my partner is very understanding, and we know like sometimes you just gotta cry. And then in 5 minutes, it's like a 180. I'm a new person, you know?
Yeah.
That's how I release emotions.
Yeah.
So we were complete opposites. She was like stoic, like, and then there's me sobbing. I always reflect back to the time we went to the movies.
I knew you were going to say this story. I was waiting.
I saw Charlie St. Cloud and I cried for 4 hours. 4 hours. 2 during the whole movie, 2 after. I think your parents thought I was psychotic.
I don't think they thought you were psychotic. I think we were all concerned because clearly, like, this happened to me the other day, but when something, like, triggers you, and I know people, like, have weird things about that word or whatever, but, like, there are triggers that will set people off, right?
Well, and I think that was before the time of people saying things like that, but I can reflect on that now and be like, something in that movie triggered me, like, and it just set me off. Which is very odd to think about now, but
it happens. It really does. I unfortunately recently have had an experience like that where I just sobbed for like 6 hours after one thing, and so it can happen. And for you, it happened at, I think we were 15, and the whole drive home from Bloomington Normal, you were crying in my parents' car. But it was beautiful because we can reflect back on that now. And
yeah, and I think that goes to show how comfortable we are in each other's life. Which, again, as a teenage girl, they're going to do whatever they want. But I felt comfortable enough to sob for 4 hours and then stay at your house.
Yep, you sure did.
And your parents opened your home to me in that way. Like, they never judged or anything either. They let us be the normal teenage girls that we were. Which
my parents,
I think
they were so open to you in particular. They loved you like a daughter in so many ways. And I hope you felt that, because they did.
For sure. Yeah. I think that's one thing with our friendship, that both our parents, but being that you were an only child, we were at your house a lot. They were both very, I don't want to say supportive, but like they let us be ourselves. They let us be teenage girls in your house and exploring our friendship and our lives and all of that. my parents let me go to your house and sit on your trampoline for 6 hours after school talking about nothing. And, stuff like that. I don't know.
Those were very important conversations at the time.
They were. That's why anytime I think back to our early days, I think of all of those very fun and such good memories, and I can't find anything in how we met to be forced or any of that. I'm always so grateful for it.
Well, I'm honestly relieved to hear that that's your perspective, because taking the friendship angle out of it, right? It was a lot of responsibility to put on a 12-year-old kid.
Yeah,
from the administration's perspective, right? Like, to give that responsibility to you was a lot.
I don't know. I guess I never really thought of it that way. I never felt like I didn't have a choice. I'll say that. I never felt stuck or any of that. I will say, like, as it went on, like, towards 7th and 8th grade, say I did feel stuck. I never did. But say I did, I probably wouldn't have found a way out, just because it's like, oh, we're so deep at this point. Like, we would find a way to work it out, whatever it was. But in those early days, I never felt like I didn't have a choice in the matter.
That makes me feel happy. I'm glad that you felt like you had agency, I guess, in that. Like, it wasn't just like thrust upon you. It was kind of like,
again, it's like, I don't know if at that age or at that time I would have taken an opportunity to get an out if I needed it. But it was always just by like internal feeling, and I wouldn't want to deal with that and feel guilty and all of that. But I never, like, from a adult point of view, they never made me feel like I didn't have a choice.
Okay, that's good. I don't actually know how those conversations went down for you, so like I am glad to hear that. I think we also like are lucky we didn't have any like big fights or fallouts in middle school when this was all going on either. Like, we had fights with other people in middle school.
But like, personally, we never really had, I would say, like a big fight until senior year of high school.
No,
and even
I agree.
looking back upon that now it's insignificant, but like at the time,
the stupidest thing.
At the time, it felt huge,
I mean, you had every right to be mad at me over that, and you did. I think I had a right to be mad in how you handled it too. Like, we both did it wrong.
Yes, and I think at the time that was like, at least for me, like, obviously, like I said, I'm a very emotional person. I was handling bigger emotions and having a lot more mental health problems than I had ever dealt with before. And so it was all kind of coming to a head. And so from my point of view, like, I was not dealing with things well at all. But for both of us, this was new. So neither of us really knew what to do in the situation.
That's true. I mean, context for listeners, so we're not just talking around it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I lied about something pretty significant to you that you found out about. That's what you're talking about, right? That's the fight?
That's not what I was talking about, actually.
Oh, shit. Oh, God. What are you talking about?
I was talking about, like, towards the end of our senior year, we were both very busy, and I was struggling a lot with the college choice, and you had let me know that I was not putting enough into our friendship at the time. And I felt as if, like, I had nothing to give. That's what I was talking about.
Well, I think, to be fair, maybe I'm wrong, and you can correct me.
And I think it all kind of stems back to that big issue that you had brought up.
I was going to say, I actually think that the catalyst for you taking a step back in some ways was the lie.
For sure, yeah.
And then working through that, I felt like we didn't work through it. But what I was going to say before you even said that is, I think there was a lot of emotions going on in general at that time for us, because we were on the precipice of that big change and heading to college. And there was a lot of emotions running high. We were doing all of our final goodbyes, right? Like, you were in your last high school, it wasn't a musical, like, play. We were in our final concerts for band and choir, and everything was kind of wrapping up. And it was so intense emotionally and just like time-wise. Like, our schedules were packed.
Yeah. On top of that, having to figure out what we want to do with our lives. That is
Right.
what I personally struggled with the most, of being like, I'm 18 and I have to, by this certain date, know what I want to do with my whole future.
Mm-hmm.
I was really struggling with that.
Well, I actually want to talk about that. Let's shift the conversation slightly, because I feel like you having helped me throughout middle school, right? Like, people would like give you nicknames, like our teachers even would be like Nurse Nellie all the time. And I feel like we took anatomy together in high school, and like it was just kind of like always assumed that you were going into medicine. And you ended up kind of doing, you did biomedical engineering in college. Like, it's an adjacent field, very tied to the medical field, but it's different. How did you decide on engineering, and what was that path like for you? Because obviously you're saying like it was very stressful. So like, what did that look like?
Like you had said, I'd always loved science, and I specifically like medical science. I loved that. And I, from a young age, was like, I'm going to be doing something with this. Like, those old Leapfrog books we had growing up, I was always on the science and anatomy pages. Like, I loved that stuff. Obviously, like, I think my mom, being a nurse, had a heavy influence on me, in a way of like, I looked up to her and I looked up to what she did. And me kind of having the emotional caregiver-like personality that I had, I was like, oh, this will be perfect. But at that time, I think there was a lot of options for what we wanted to do, but we weren't shown all of those options, I'll say. Being that we went to a small school and all that, there were tons of opportunities, and I commend our high school for having some of the opportunities that they do, especially on a technical side. That stuff is awesome, but that just isn't what I wanted to do. So I was kind of lost in the, I think I want to do something like this, but I'm not really sure. And so I would have conversations with my parents about it. And my mom was just, she'd be very real with me, of being like, hey, nursing is a super unforgiving career. Like, don't just jump into it thinking it's going to be great and you're going to love it. Like, truly think about this, and then think how many more opportunities you have of different things you could do. Lots of conversations around that, and then looking at schools and all of that. So kind of what it boiled down to, I'll say my final choices. I was either going to stay in Illinois and go to Southern Illinois University and study medical science and be a physician's assistant, like take that pathway of not full on being a medical doctor, because we all know emotionally I would not be able to handle it. At least at that time I didn't. I looking back, I'm like, I'd be fine, you know, like I don't want anybody to think, because of how they are personality wise, that they wouldn't be able to handle something like that. You're all strong in your own ways, and you'll learn that as you go. But at the time I was like, I can't handle that. I can't handle that long of schooling. So I'm going to do physician's assistant, which is only like 6 years of school. Or I had visited Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Milwaukee School of Engineering, because my mom had been like, hey, there's this newer field called biomedical engineering, which is like a lot of medical stuff and a lot of the science that you like, but it also throws in the engineering part, which can help open up career options and stuff like that. Like, just being very real about it all, of like, hey, like, you're going to have to get a job. You're going to have to do all this stuff. This is supplemental to help that. So what it boiled down to was Illinois or Wisconsin. And truly, 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 what made my choice was I liked Milwaukee more. Like, I liked the school itself, and I liked the city more. I thought it was a small school, small classes. I was like, I kind of thrive in that, you know, growing up in a small town, being the way I am. I was like, I kind of like that, but I want the city to be a little bit bigger so I have more opportunities of things to do without being dumped in like Chicago or a big city like that. That I would never be able to do that personally. So I made my decision based on school more so than career. Which is kind of odd to think about, but it's all worked out in the end. And I have found my niche that I would have never found when I was 18. Like, when I was 18, I did not think I would be doing what I do now.
I have a lot that I want to unpack, but I love this idea that you chose the school over a career, because I think that there's something in that about like chosen family and chosen home in
Yeah.
many ways. Because the thing is, like, I don't know, I think people know that I'm pretty leftist. I have issues with aspects of capitalism and stuff like that. And this idea that we're built to work and like
Yeah.
we have to think about everything through a career lens, where why don't we look at what fills our cup? Because it's not, you can find a career in anything. You can figure
Right.
out what you want to do in anything. Like, people are adaptable. They're able to like mold into different aspects, learn new things, right? Like, I'm a big believer in that. But I think you really just said something really truly beautiful. Like, focusing in on other aspects is so key, because look at you now. Like, you have a home in Milwaukee. You stayed in that community, and you're with your long-term partner. You guys are engaged. Like, you are in a job that I think you like most of the time.
Yeah.
And like, you have friends, community. I know you have like activities that you do. You tell me about D&D and like, not to out your nerd, but like, I love you. And you know what I mean? Like, and I know you, and it's so powerful.
I think that reflecting back on that, that's huge. And I think I had probably subconsciously, I don't want to give myself the credit of thinking that at the time, but subconsciously, I think I saw staying in Illinois, going to a big school in a small town. That's what a lot of Illinois universities are, big schools in small towns. And I was like, okay, I could be in this smaller town with people that I went to high school with, but have a lot of options of career, or I can go to this whole new city, not know anybody, but have still a small community of like people to help guide me. And whether or not I ended up doing engineering or not, I still think I would have stayed in Milwaukee, because I could have gone to other schools. I could have transferred. I could have switched majors, whatever it was. I just knew that I liked it there. And I didn't see that in Carbondale.
I think that's really powerful. I mean, I think in some ways I did something similar with my own career path, because I always said I wanted to do communications and journalism.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I was saying from a young age. And I didn't do that.
Right.
That's not what I studied. I studied English Lit because Notre Dame didn't have a communications program. So I think, like, if you're on the precipice, anybody listening, of like making a big decision, like, it's okay to focus in on other aspects of that decision, right? Like, it's not usually just like one thing. I think make it make sense for you is like a really key thing that I'm hearing here.
And it's okay to get it wrong the first time. Not necessarily wrong, but to like, I got my bachelor's, I graduated, and I was like, you know what? I don't think I really love anything that I learned. I liked it. I was like, I could do it. I really, really liked certain aspects of what I learned, but a chunk of it, I was like, not my thing. So I was like, I'm going to go get my master's in the little bit that I did like. And that's how you kind of like find your niche of, you can graduate and be like, maybe this isn't what I want to do, and you can change. That's the great thing about life. It's ever changing. It's ever changing. I can't remember where I heard this, but like, our bodies being so much water, right? Again, I'm a woo-woo astrology witchy person in many ways, and because our bodies are so much water, like, we flow like water. And like, that it's
idea
an
that,
ebb and
like,
a flow.
Yes, you don't have to commit to anything ever.
Right.
Ever. Life's too long. I know we all say life is short. It is short.
But
it's long.
Career life is too long. Life's too short to spend that much time doing something you don't like.
No matter the investment.
Yes.
Yes. Period. Mic drop. Getting back into career land, though, one thing that I do want to touch on, and I feel like I've had a couple people in STEM, like we had a med student on here last season. I know I had another engineer on, both we're women. And I want to talk to you a little bit about your experience as a woman in engineering, because obviously this is access denied. We talk about rejection, discrimination, all the fun little things. Have you experienced that in your both schooling and career?
It's one of those things where it's like, yes. Short answer, yes. Long answer, yes, but never, I don't think ever purposefully, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The only time I had anybody blatantly going out of their way to be like, you can't do this because of your gender was probably in high school, in a high school job. But past that, I never really had anybody flat out tell me, no, you can't do this because you're a woman. However, there's a lot of just nuanced things that happen. For an example, I'll be in a work meeting and I'm the only woman in the room. That happens daily. That other people would never notice, I notice. And it's not like it's a problem. It's probably a problem, but it's nothing that's like inherently hurting me. People are still listening to me. Maybe not as strong. I don't know. But there's no other feminine voices in the room other than mine. A lot.
See, we've never had this discussion, so I didn't even know this.
Sorry, that was a very like hodgepodge way, because I don't like to speak on it poorly, because like I said, nobody has ever gone out of their way to say no. All my bosses are men and they look out for me so hard. They want me to do the best in my career. They push hard for me. All of that. But just going to work, it's like, it's a lot of dudes. And all the meetings are a lot of dudes. In college, not so much. I was one of the lucky ones. Biomed is a very 50-50 split of male and female. And then, yeah, my job is a very heavy engineering job. So it's very heavy men. So I work at Milwaukee Tool, which is a power tool company, which is heavily, it's construction. It's stuff like that that's run by men. So we make tools for men. We make stuff for men. And so it's a lot of times created by men. And so trying to get that feminine voice in there, it's kind of a challenge. They're growing, and it's not like they're saying no. It's just, it takes time to make those changes. It takes time to get more women in the field. It takes more time to get all the voices heard, and it takes time to make that change.
It takes time. It takes resources. It takes access.
Yeah.
It takes also a desire. You're talking about like a very male-centric job in many ways.
Yeah.
Power tools, like, doesn't scream femininity to many.
I'm lucky that I don't work on the power tool side. I work in a different business unit. I work on a different set of stuff. But I feel bad for my friends that work on power tools, because they are heavily run by men. And they probably have noticed more issues with that than I do.
Well, one thing that I think is true across all three people now that I've had that have spoken on this topic on the pod is everybody says, like, they notice things like this, right? Mm-hmm. And while they might have had like one or two comments about different things throughout their like studies or career, it's never been anything that has like pushed them away from doing the career. It's never been anything that has like been such a barrier that they felt like they couldn't continue on. And I think to me that's the key thing in many ways. I think most of the time across careers there is always a solution. Getting through difficulties is important, and like fighting through adversity, because whether you're looking at it as like a small thing or not, being the only woman in a room is a form of adversity.
Right. But that personally makes me want to do it more. Like that stuff. And I think for a lot of women, it like lights a fire. It like it kind of angers you in a way where it's like, not anger pointed to any person, and definitely not to anybody in the room, because it's not their fault. They're just doing their job. But it makes me want to be more present and to be more vocal and to make sure that I'm a voice in that room for the people that aren't getting one. I can speak to the women in construction, to the women in whatever career we're making something for, and make sure that's known.
I love that perspective. I think that's really, really key. It's unfortunate because that is a form of labor that you're not getting paid for. Like, if we're being really honest about it, right? Like, I obviously I work in advocacy, so like I see that as like that's what you're doing. Like, that's what you were describing. You're like, I'm a voice for people that aren't there. I'm making sure that this is like, no, that's an advocate role. But like, I can also appreciate that lights a fire in you as well. And like, that is a motivating factor. And it's something that drives you with ambition to do well and make sure you are being heard and you are like getting your say and helping these people and giving voice and all of that. So I think that's really key and really important.
And I think, I mean, even you can attest to this, that I was always, like we said, I'm an introvert. I'm always the type to kind of let people walk over me, like be more of the silent type. And this career and a lot of times, like the men that I've worked with who have pushed me and let me be myself, let me speak for myself, and they give me the space to do that, and it's pushed me to be a better person in that way. I feel like generally in my life I'm much better at not letting people walk all over me, because I don't know, that's not the way to live life, and I truly have engineering to thank for that.
Okay, I'm gonna tell a little anecdote and that I think people need to hear to show your journey, and it's going to be a long affirmation for you because I agree 100%. Again, having known you since we were 12, I used to see like you would let people walk all over you, and something that I used to say is like, you're an ostrich, you're burying your head in the sand. And like I made this like iconic meme back in the day.
You did.
Before like
before
Photoshop,
memes were memes.
Before memes were memes, I like put your head on an ostrich. And we still like talk about it to this day.
You should post it with this. Let everyone know. I was an ostrich for sure.
You were, and like it would, like as somebody who has always been kind of loud and outspoken and dramatic, I was like, Cass, I love you so much. Like, stand up for yourself. Like, you deserve all the good things. And I've seen such a shift in you. And like part of that's growing up. Part of that is like just coming into yourself, dealing with your mental health, like all of that. But I do think that your career has given you such a strong foundation of that. And I'm so proud of you. And I'm so glad that you don't let that happen anymore to the extent that it was in high school. Like, you have blossomed into such a beautiful person. And like, I've loved you at every stage, as we've said, but like, I am so happy for you that you have gotten to a place where you can stand up for yourself.
Thank you. Yeah, I think one of my, just quick little anecdote to add to that, one of my first jobs in engineering, just to show how heavily male dominated these are, was there in the women's bathrooms. They obviously had tampons and pads, but they were always empty and they costed money. And that was my first time I went to my boss and I was like, this is wrong. Like, this is not right. I'm not carrying quarters with me every day. I am not gonna, you can't expect me to always remember to bring them or fill my bag every time. Sometimes people forget. I was like, you need to fix that. And that was like the first time that I like fully was like, oh my God, I stood up for myself. Like, and it was fixed. It was fixed like the next week.
Look at that. I love that. That's a great story.
And that's what I'm like, and it's one of those things, again, I don't know if it was necessarily like to the fault of anybody at the job. It's a lot of men. They don't think about that. No other woman has stood up and been like, I'm not paying for this. Like, this should be free. And then somebody said it and they're like, oh, yeah, that should be free. Duh. Like, why didn't we think of that?
I love that. I always say like advocacy is like half empathy, half education. Like, you have to like be able to like understand where the other person is coming from to be able to reach them in the first place. Anyway, we have yapped for a good 52 minutes, so perhaps I should ask you my final 4 questions and we should wrap up this episode. But I think it just goes to show that you and I have a lot we could talk about, and so
we could talk for hours.
Perhaps we'll have a chapter 2 with you at some point in the future. Okay, the hard-hitting questions. Are you ready?
I am.
Question number 1. If you are feeling down, what is a song that you can put on that will instantly boost your mood just a little bit?
So this song it made it in my top 5 of Spotify last year, actually. I think it was my number 2. The Spins by Mac Miller is just so feel good. I learned all the words and I just sit in my car and I bop around, and it's just, if you don't know it, you gotta listen to it. It's so fun. It's from his early high school days, so it's very fun and just reminiscent of that time.
Love. I'm not familiar with the song, but I will be adding it to a playlist after this. So there we go. Question number 2, friend. What is something, an activity, an item, you decide, that's in your rejection rescue kit? So when you're faced with rejection, what's something you use to pull yourself out of like feeling sad?
Can I say my dog?
You can. People have definitely said pets before. Like, pets are a great
dog
resource.
For sure. Like he's so good. Like if I'm crying or something, he'll just come up next to me and he'll give me a little hug, he'll cuddle. And that's the thing, he was never a cuddler until he met me. And then I've turned him to a squish. So that's my.
You inspired the cuddles.
I bring out the emotion in everyone.
You do. Look, that's a great trait to have. Mind you, like,
Thank you.
Being able to make somebody feel comfortable enough to be vulnerable, and I love you. You're amazing. The dog obviously does too, so that's pretty great. Lonzo's the best. Question number 3. What is the last thing you did scared?
Kind of tying into what we did, I recently, like, for the first time at work, like, led a full team, like, learning in a way where it was like, I wasn't lecturing, wasn't doing anything like that, but I was presenting upon things and trying to have a conversation with a broad group of people, a lot of people who are above me. It was super scary, but it was super worth it, and I hope it went well. But yeah, it was scary. To anytime anything work related of doing stuff with people above you is always a little scary. And to do it in front of a larger audience was very scary, but we survived.
Congratulations. That's like a huge thing, and I'm proud of you. You'll have to let me know the feedback and how it went.
I think it went well, so we'll see.
Well done. Impressed. Gold star.
Thank you. Thank you.
My final question for you today, friend. What, based on our conversation, or just something in general, I guess, but what is something you would like to leave the audience with today? Your final nugget of wisdom.
I think broadly, and what goes best with my personality, is I will always tell people to feel their feelings. Don't bottle that shit up. Talk about it. Be communicative. Cry. Laugh. Be bold in your feelings and feel your feelings.
Ooh, that might be the title of the episode, Being Bold in Your Feelings. I freaking love that.
Yeah, I am the most feeling person ever. Like I feel deep, as I said, and I think everybody should tap into that side of themselves.
Cass, thank you so much for sharing so much of your story with everybody today. It's been so good. Again, we've been friends for almost 20 years, as we discussed, and I feel like I'm still learning things about you, and we just like had like a very real conversation that we've never talked about before. So
for sure,
I am so grateful to know you. I'm so honored to be your friend, and I love you so much, Twinnie.
I love you more.
Oh, where can people find you to continue to follow your journey?
I'm a pretty private person, but I do have an Instagram. It is probably private right now, but if it's not, it's at Castagram with 3 S's. Otherwise, maybe you'll see me on Jess's page sometimes.
I love that. I love that. Well, Cass, thank you for opening up the privacy box for a second for everybody to
Yes.
enjoy your story. I think you have a lot of amazing stories, and I cannot wait to have you back one day very soon.
Thank you.
I love you. Have a great rest of your day. And
You
everybody
too.
listening, I'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
And that concludes another episode of Access Denied. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you like this week's episode, be sure to hit that subscription button and notification bell here on YouTube, or go check us out on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss another episode. We have so much exciting content coming out for season 2. You're not going to want to miss it. I'd like to give a huge shout out to JP Warner Sound for dropping this sick beat that you're listening to right now. And finally, if you'd like to rep your love of Access Denied, you now can with our very exciting merch line, featuring a very special Access Denied mug so that you can sip your morning tea while you listen to me spill the accessibility. Anyways, friends, thank you so much once again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye!